Blackbeard is one of the worst operators in Rainbow Six Siege right now and has been for quite some time. And ever since his release all the way back in May of 2016, Ubisoft have been struggling to balance him accordingly. To understand how complex this issue actually is and how big of a task this is going to be for Ubisoft, we're going to have to take a quick look at Blackbeard's history to understand how Ubisoft could possibly balance him or rework him in the future. Now, if you guys go on to enjoy this video, leave a like, subscribe, and without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So let's take this all the way back to the start. Blackbeard released in Operation Dust Line all the way back in May of 2016. Now at launch, he actually came to the game with a singular shield that had 800 HP. Now this means he could take basically an entire mag from almost any gun in the game before his shield actually broke and his head was revealed to people who were actually fighting him from the front. Now this is almost definitely one of the most broken operators we've had from launch, and it very quickly became a problem for Ubisoft because just in the next season in Operation Skull Rain, they reworked the way his shield would work. This is when they introduced the 2 shield system, but they reduced that HP of each of his shields all the way down to 150 HP, which is still over double what we have today. Now, although this was a step in the right direction from Ubisoft, it was the first of many nerfs to come, and to be honest, it didn't really impact him enough and he was still very, very strong. Now, somewhere in between Skull Rain and today, he actually has dropped his shield HP from 150 for each shield all the way down to 60 HP. He's had his damage of his AR nerfed many times, and even the ADS speed of that AR has also been nerfed to try and balance him and put him in a place that you can actually play against. However, in doing so, he has become one of the worst operators in the game, and because he has no use in that shield mechanic and he doesn't really offer anything else to the table, in the current meta of Rainbow Six Siege, he's just one of the most useless operators and has one of the worst loadouts in the game as well. A very clear representation of this is where Blackbeard actually sits in the most recent win deltas. As you can see here, Blackbeard is all the way smack bang in the middle of this big cluster of operators in the underpicked and too weak category. Now on PC, he sits at around a 6% pick rate with a minus 0.5% win-loss ratio. Now that doesn't sound too bad, but when you compare this to what the console stats are like, he's actually sat closer to like a 2 or a 3% pick rate with a similar win-loss percentage. Now although there are a lot of operators sat in this kind of region of the win-loss deltas, Blackbeard is by far the least useful, and I think the only reason people do play him is because how bad he actually is in a meme kind of context. Now I think the main issue with Blackbeard is the way he is designed as an operator. In a game, as I said, where one-hit headshots are so prevalent, designing an operator to literally prevent that is going to cause issue from day one. No matter how strong or weak that shield will be, there will still be some situations where you should be winning that gunfight because you had the clear advantage, but a shield blocking that has now made you lose that gunfight and therefore could impact the round, the game you are playing, and even affect your overall rank. So what can Ubisoft realistically do to balance him and bring him back to the forefront of Siege without making him as powerful as he once was? Well, by taking a look at that history of Blackbeard, I think it's safe to say that we cannot buff the shield at all. In fact, we probably need to rework it in some way, shape or form. The design of Blackbeard is just fundamentally flawed, and if we increase that shield's HP, he's just going to become overpowered again because he can stop too many bullets to the head before he dies. Now I've seen some creators say that Blackbeard should have a little bit of a cutout where his head actually is, making it so maybe half of his head is showing rather than none of it, and then that way you can then increase the amount of health the shield actually has again, so it can block some shots from certain angles, but there is still a part of the head showing, so you can still get hit in the head. Now to be honest, if we want to keep the way Blackbeard works in his current form with that glass shield in front of his head, I think this might be the only way Ubisoft are actually able to rework that shield to make it viable again, without having to literally strip away the shield entirely and change him and his gadget completely, which is basically changing his identity in Siege. But what if Ubisoft don't want to rework him? What if they want to keep that in place, but just buff other aspects of him him to make him a little bit more useful to the team? Well, I've actually thought of a few solutions for this, starting off with his loadout. Obviously, as I said, his AR has actually been nerfed a lot over the years as well, and I think if Ubisoft want to make him at least competitive again in one way or another, I think they need to increase the ADS speed to begin with, then they need to start slowly increasing the AR's damage until it is good again, because even if that gadget isn't good, if he still has a good AR and a good loadout to complement the bad gadget, it would then kind of level him out a little bit and make him a little bit more usable. I don't think Ubisoft should go overboard with their AR because, as I said, back in the day, he was very broken, and even if he had 60 HP shields like he does now, but with his OG AR, I think that could still cause a few issues. So the next solution that I have is by tweaking his secondary gadgets that he can bring to the team. For example, I think one of the first things he should get is the hard breach device. I don't know why he doesn't already have it. I mean, it fits him perfectly as an operator in my opinion. He's even in the Red Hammer squad, which, even going off of the lore, is like the squad that is very heavy. They go in with a lot of explosions, guns blazing, and overall I think it just fits him perfectly. But another way they could do this is by allowing him to bring multiple secondary gadgets so that he's not so reliant on that main gadget, his rifle shield, and that way he can bring a little bit more utility to the team. Even if they did this in such a way where you can't choose which two you wanted, say you had one fixed secondary gadget and then you had one that you could choose between, maybe you had to bring stun grenades or you had to bring that hard breach device, and then for the other option you had the choice between claymores or, you know, whatever to bring as a secondary gadget option. Even while recording this video, I actually found out something pretty funny. If you head over to the Ubisoft website, it actually displays him having impact grenades for his loadout. I think this is just an accident. Instead of putting frag grenades, they put impact grenades. But unironically, if Blackbeard got impact grenades on attack, I know it's just like a glorified breach charge for them, but being able to open up a soft wall with a single press of a button might actually be something unique enough to make him more desirable for the attackers. Either way guys, let me know how you think Ubisoft should handle this situation. Do you think they can balance him by buffing his AR and tweaking his secondary gadgets, or do you think there is a major rework lined up for Blackbeard which is going to completely change his identity in Rainbow Six Siege?